Hello. Good evening, my friends. Hello, and good evening. Am I the only one who likes to dump because I think it's healthy? I don't know. Healthy dumps? Only on the toilet. Nah, we'll talk about it, but I mean, with the new ETF flows, I don't think you need dumps to make this market healthy. Basically, like this could go up only for quite a while and still be very healthy, just by virtue of having a very good narrative to make it go up like that. Most anticipated stream of the year. Good evening, Doug. I don't know about that one. There was better ones, but we had a little bit of a low time frame dump that you can see here on the 5-minute chart. We had a little bit of a blow off top two, but I mean, so far the buyback has actually been quite good. We'll see if that continues during the show. It's actually good timing because if it kind of like falls back off, that seems like a good intermediate top, as in like for like a while, a little bit, a few days at least. If it just keeps going, I mean, who the fuck knows? Maybe the real blow off top is still on the way. You never know, but we'll see what we can find on the higher time frames, on the lower time frames, whatever. But yeah, quite fucking mental. We're trading back at 60k, which is sadly higher time frame resistance. But why is this on the monthly? It doesn't belong there. But yeah, we'll see how this goes. I forgot to edit the title. I was very much in a rush. I had to beat my fiancée at chess before I showed up, and I tried to make it easy for her, but didn't happen. Never lost, not once. But the day is coming at some point. What do we title this video? Bitcoin at all-time high, question mark, exclamation, whatever thingy, question mark, exclamation. This is good. We'll do this. Where would you rank this as top number of crazy days? I mean, I don't think this is actually crazy. Did I miss something? Like this kind of thing happens all the time. Like when it nukes to almost zero, those are the days where it's crazy. This is par for the course, no? Like, I mean, just look how often this happens. Like it'd be more crazy if this thing didn't happen. Capo was right. Yeah, inverse Capo was right. You had to beat your fiancé? Yeah, I mean, you gotta show them who's boss. In chess, of course. Why did you beat her? Happy wife, happy life? Dude, what is this behavior? You don't lose. Man never loses. The prophecy? Yeah. Look at that. Look, this is the prophecy. This is what I said. This is what happened. Took a little bit longer, to be fair. And I mean, I'm not holding, so two things that are not that great, but yeah. Anyway, before we start the show, big shout out to Woo for sponsoring it. They've been amazing to work with, and now we're back at all-time high, so maybe that'll get even better. Who knows? I've heard when prices go up, generally everything gets better. So that can only apply to exchanges as well. But all jokes aside, they're good partners. They do good things, at least from what I can see and what I can tell. And I've been trading on that exchange myself, so for all it's worth. Is it a good time to buy altcoins like Doge? I actually think Doge has a little bit of window, yeah. Then again, it's up a bunch today. A friend of mine actually shilled me Doge earlier, and then it went up, and he DM'd me euphorically what a genius he is, and then it went back down. But I mean, he's still up a little. I think he bought 0.1 and now it's 0.11. So that's 10%. That's pretty good as long as this breakout sticks. I think generally with the altcoins, and I mean, I'll spoiler alert for the show. If Bitcoin dumps here, right, and just rolls over, I think altcoins might actually dump even harder, possibly. Or even like there's two ways that this can play out. One, they dump harder, or two, they actually get bought up during the dump. If two happens, if you see altcoins getting bought up during the dump, I think then it's truly time for altcoin season. And then you get crazy multiples, even on shit like Doge, even on shit like Litecoin or whatever. But I think like, yeah, on the good stuff more so than the bad, obviously. Don, are you still sidelined? Yeah, I'm taking a vacation. Like, I'm not doing anything. It is getting a little bit like, I mean, I'd obviously not the best timing. I thought I would have more time. I basically was like, when I was looking at the high time frames, I bought 16K, right? And then it went all the way up and we broke back into the old range. And I was like, I think it's gonna struggle in the old range a little bit. So I can take 3-4 months off to just kind of like get settled in with my new accommodation, get our wedding fully planned because my fiance and I are getting married. Get familiar with everything, go on a vacation, which is also happening relatively soon, where I'm actually gonna go on a vacation. A vacation during my vacation, but yeah, so I'm not doing anything. I'm doing real life stuff, more so than anything else. Don, didn't you say 60K is a good place to short? I think if there's one, that the blow off top earlier was the place to short, yes. When did you say to buy altcoins? This is when Bitcoin finds a bottom? Yes. I think if Bitcoin goes further down, like if this rolls over, and I know, 5-minute chart, whatever, doesn't really matter. The only reason why I'm saying it on the 5-minute chart is because the 1 hour doesn't even give us anything yet. But if this continues to roll over and there's something like this, which is possible, it's ran for infinite amounts, right? If it does that, I think once the dip is over, the altcoins will have a really good time. But yeah. Do you have a normal 9-to-5 job or retired crypto veteran? I don't have a normal job. This is my it's my normal job, and I don't really do it that well anymore. Now I'm just like I work crypto full time since 2017. I haven't been doing anything else. I got a few real life job offers to work in like crypto funds, but I was like, I can just trade my own money. Don't need to trade anyone else's. Even though there's really no downside to it. You trade in a fund, you fuck it up. Well, I mean, such is life. You don't lose your own money, or like at least not as much. And if you make a bunch, you get bonuses that are actually completely insane. But I was like, nah, it's too stressful. Anyway, let's talk about Bitcoin first, and we can go over like questions and all that kind of stuff. High time frame, as you can see, we finally made it. I was any of you in the chat that here on the monthly, I was like, there is no resistance in here. I drew this meme midpoint, whatever, but I was like realistically, this is shit. Yeah, it didn't really do much. And what we did was basically went from range low to range high in one candle or two candle. I mean, it was free, but still, like basically from 40 to 60 in one candle. And but I did say like that is like 60K is actually resistance, right? And that's kind of where we are right now. I think generally, if we get into trouble here, it will only be temporary. I think this is a very, very good spot for the market. Just because we've tested this all-time high twice already. Like if this was once, I'd be like, okay, we could even go like quite a bit lower and then come back later. But we tested it twice, right? And with every test that you get off of these like all-time highs, whatever, like range highs, the range high gets shittier and shittier. And I think that is still quite a strong resistance, but at best, like something like if you're not completely bad-hearted, I think the best you can hope for is a pullback towards 45k. That's the midpoint. I think that's like anything beyond there is very bad-hearted. I think there is a possibility, but at this point it's very, very slim. Like I would say like 5% maybe that we reach if we pull back, like support lower. But I think like if it pulls back, it either pulls back just a little bit and then just keeps going. It pulls back here and then just goes. Or like in a very, very off chance, like I said, it pulls back here and goes. But there's also a chance it just goes. And I would give those chances like, okay, let me just put all of it on the screen. Because a lot of people do this, right? They draw like this is possible, this is possible, this is possible. And then they're just like, oh yeah, in hindsight, I traded this in that way. So straight up from here, I would give like 20% chance. A little bit of a pullback and then up, I would give like 30%. And then like 40% here and almost nothing here. Like somewhere in the very, 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 very tiny percentages, like 10, whatever, 5 to 10% somewhere to this one. So I think it's still possible. It just keeps going up. But I think at this point we have kind of ran for quite a while. So I think, and you kind of have to respect the only resistance, right? Like we've talked about this. There was no resistance between 30 and 60. Now we reached 60. You kind of have to be a little careful. But I honestly, like, I don't know. Like I still think there's a good chance it just runs. Like 20% is quite high, especially if you combine with the tiny pullback and go up. That'd be like, yeah, that'd be more than 50% in my eyes that you don't really get a pullback. Is 35k still possible? How big of a chance? I talked about that. So I think generally it's gonna go higher. So being bullish generally makes more sense than being bearish, like infinite amounts. I think it can pull back here, like there's a possibility, just because it's high time frame resistance. There's a good chance it just struggles with this, but also, I mean, it's tested this twice already, so fuck it. Like I could even see people be like, nah, fuck it, I'll just run with it, and don't think that's too unreasonable. On the weekly time frame, same picture, right? We had this overthrow here, and now we're struggling with the same kind of resistance that we have on the monthly. So we have weekly and monthly resistance confluence, which is quite powerful, but also this move has been insane, right? Like this has just been literally like this. And there's a chance that, honestly, and this is something that crypto does a lot, like this was the move, like the trajectory before, we kind of steepened it up a little, and I could see it do even more steep. So you gotta be ready for that if you want to trade this market. This market just goes fucking crazy sometimes. What if monthly closes below and we open the next monthly in the red? Then you have a nice, very nice support level at 45. And doesn't even have to reach it, in my opinion. What entry would you aim for the 30% chance of slight pullback? Yeah. Slight pullback, honestly, it doesn't even have to go that far. It could just be 57, 56. Like it could literally just do this. But also, like generally speaking, and this is something we can talk about when we get to the lower time frames. Generally speaking, we have had a little bit of a blow off. It's just we had a blow off top-ish on the daily time frame, or on the, not even on the daily, on the 4 hour or whatever. You can get a blow off top on the macro time frames too. Happened before. So what's your plan? My plan is to see how it looks like when I get back from my vacation, which is end of March, and then see what's gonna happen. But like obviously like that, some people just want to trade, and I get it. Like if you asked me this 2, 3, 4 years ago, I mean I would have never given the same answer. So I think like my plan would be, if I was talking about, and we can talk about this so I can go over a plan a little bit better. So I was tweeting and I was talking on the stream here. When we closed above 44K, I was like, the only trade you can take is a long, right? And if I was active trading, I would have taken that one, and I would have closed into 60K. And like that's the kind of trade that I would have taken if I was actively trading. I mean, we outlined it with stop loss, everything on the show, right, in the last few weeks. So now that we've done this, it's a little bit harder, especially given we are pretty much at all-time high. So around all-time highs, you can get massive moves pretty quickly. So I think it makes sense to, I don't want to say it makes sense to wait for 45 because that seems quite aggressive. But also, where the fuck do you buy? Like this has moved so much. There's nice support in the 42 to 45K region. But also, does that really seem realistic at this point with the ETF bid? I don't know. Like right now it's tough. And this is why I said earlier that I can also like fully respect someone that's just like, fuck it. This is the only like resistance we have left, and I'm going to hold into it like a Chad. And I'm honestly not hating, because where the fuck do you rebuy if you sell here? It's tough. End of March, if we keep going, how does that make sense? I mean, like, you guys don't understand. Like, I'm on vacation. Like, this is like if you, maybe the Americans just don't have vacation. But if someone is on vacation, you know, like, they are actually not doing what they're doing for a living. They're actually taking time off. So, I mean, if it keeps running, then I'll see in March or April or in May or in June how it's going to look like. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting monthly close. That we can say for sure, because there's 1 day left. And we are trading around high time frame resistance. If you were in the market right now, what would you do? What would you do then? Would you only hold BTC? Right now, yes. Yes, I would only hold Bitcoin. I don't really trade much else anyway. And I think, like, as you can see in my watch list, besides like some meme coins like Pip is up a little bit, Doge up a little bit, everything else has massively underperformed, right? Uni is down 10% against Bitcoin, Aave down 9%, Atom down 8%, right? So I think generally, even Solana, right? Solana is down 3%, and today has been an exceptionally good day for Solana in comparison to the previous days, right? So Solana has been shit as well. I think generally, if this goes down, altcoins, like if Bitcoin pulls back, altcoins will pull back harder. Some of these have, like, a bunch of people basically, and this is something that always happens during these moves, right? So you have a Bitcoin-led move, and people, and this is something that you will see if this pulls back a little, right? Okay. What people see is Bitcoin going up. They don't have Bitcoin exposure. People are too lazy to have any Bitcoin exposure. They're just trading altcoins, right? So they see Bitcoin go up 20%, their altcoin goes up too. So they're like, fuck it. If I just lever up, some of these altcoins, I can gain the difference. And if you hit right, like for example today Dogecoin or like some of the meme coins, that can absolutely be the case. But if you hit wrong, what happens is you get into a position, and it might even go up while Bitcoin is going up, but just a little bit, like it does something like this. But then when Bitcoin does this, which I mean, still a massively green day, Bitcoin pulled back from 64 all the way down to like 59, and that was still a green day, right? So it does this, and the altcoin just has a bunch of people levered to the tits because they're trying to chase Bitcoin. The Bitcoin gains, basically, they're like, I don't want to be outdone by Bitcoin, so I'm just going to level up. And this happens on the altcoin. And then you're basically like, you get doubly fucked. And I think if Bitcoin goes down from here, there's a good chance that this will happen across the board for a lot of altcoins. So I wouldn't necessarily hold any altcoins. And if this happens, I think you could see altcoins continue doing this, but altcoin pairs doing the dumping. And then you're also not having that much fun. So in that, like right now, altcoins are a tough bet, but they can turn really quickly just because we're basically at the point, and it's something that we discussed when we were trading at 16K, 1620K, where I was like, the altcoins, I mean, you can trade them, you can buy them, but I think they're going to be a better buy the moment you are above Bitcoin all-time high, and that's pretty much where we are right now, right? So anywhere right now, altcoins are going to become, like in the next few weeks to months, altcoins are going to be interesting. So if you get a massive dump, like Solana, for example, like let's say Solana completely dumps off of the Bitcoin move against Bitcoin, or even better against USD, right? Let's say Solana dumps against USD. That'd be an interesting buy. You have, I think Dogecoin even would be possibly an interesting buy. A few of them basically could and should be interesting, but in these kind of scenarios, I even like uni, like this kind of stuff, like coins that are somewhat decent. But for that, you need Bitcoin to kind of finish its at least short-term run, right? So if you want to bet on altcoins at this point, you need Bitcoin to calm the fuck down or even dump. And then if Bitcoin dumps and gets into a recovery, and this is, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but basically the space from here to where it dumped to the upside, that's where altcoins can perform well, right? During this move, the altcoins don't really give a fuck if it's not new highs for Bitcoin, but they do give a fuck if it is new highs for Bitcoin. So basically, while Bitcoin makes new highs like this, your altcoin is going to suffer against Bitcoin. If Bitcoin doesn't make new highs but still goes up, that's where your altcoin can outperform Bitcoin easier. I hope that makes sense. It's a little bit complicated, and it's not always the same, but that's kind of how I look at it. DeFi, yeah. Hey Don, do you think ETF will materially change the Bitcoin market cycle, or do you expect something similar again? Is this time really different? I think this time, like we could get more, like the ETF is going to lead to higher prices generally, but I think this cycle is still going to be relatively the same as previous ones. Basically the ETF gets established, right? And you kind of get, like the normies get used to this whole Bitcoin crypto thing. And then they get completely fucked over, as everyone does in crypto eventually once the cycle top hits, which will lead to some funny stuff, right? Where you have massive outflows on the ETFs at some point. And then that's going to be the fun, like, oh shit, the ETF has, like, there's so much money in the ETFs and they're going out, we're doomed, right? And that's probably the low way you want to be buying. But that is, I think, the last time that you're gonna see a proper cycle. So I think this cycle might be one of the last before it just gets simple TradFi, normie kind of trading. But just look at normie trading, can still be fun. But it will change, in my opinion. just not yet. Will you ever make a trading guide? I think most of my trading is just basically like a lot of gut feeling and a lot of just reading the temperature of the room, so to speak. And I don't know if that makes any sense to put in the guide. If you took the 44K trade, you would sell here? Yes. But then I would be a little bit, I would be a little bit worried because if this has, and there's something that you have to be ready if you sell here, like if there's a chance it just does a massive high time frame blow off top where it goes to 100 and then pulls back to 60. And if you buy at 100 and you pull back to 60 after having sold 60, you're gonna be not having much fun. So there's always chances that this just keeps ripping, and I think that shouldn't be underestimated. But for me as a trader, right, like I don't look at it the same way a lot of other people do. Like I don't care too much. Like I'm like, oh shit, that was a good trade at 44. This setup that we kept talking about for a long time, and that setup led to quite some gains. And then I'm like, okay, cool, it's done. It's at high time frame resistance now. But there's also some charts that are just like, I took a setup and I'm like, we're at high time frame resistance, and if that breaks, we're gonna go to 100K. And I think that's also valid. Come on, Doc. At Duck, we say that every cycle, that it's gonna be the last. I didn't necessarily, and it's gonna be very different with the ETF. Like it's very different flows. Hi Dawn, I too had to take a break, and now I'm traumatized. Do you think in 2 years' time there will still be opportunity like this, or boring times after halving? No, there's always opportunities. Maybe not like this, but always. So, that's Bitcoin really. I think generally, if you want to be on the safe side of not missing out, and this kind of sucks to say, but basically I've been saying like, hey, this is your invalidation, and you long 44. It went up, it did a consolidation, it pushed up, right? And I was like, okay, now this is your invalidation, as long as that holds higher. And I think at this point now, as dumb as that sounds, you have to jump one time frame lower even, and I think anything below 57 is invalidation now for the people that really want to stick in the trade. I think if you really wanted to push that trade to its limits, the 44K breakout trade that I kind of talked about, I think that's as much as you can take, as much heat. But me personally, I would have closed that trade, and then just then you just look if you can find something else. ETH's also been struggling. It had a little bit of a push up, but that got massively blown out by Bitcoin moving, which is quite sad. And now it's already back in this shitty area. ETH just doesn't want to go. I mean, it did go, and people are euphoric about the push up towards 3.3, but ETH just doesn't want to go like against Bitcoin. I still think like at this point, if Bitcoin pulls back, I could see myself like if this takes a while, which I mean at this point doesn't really seem too likely. Everything's moving at lightning speed. But if this takes a while and gives me enough time to kind of finish all the real life stuff that I have going on, I would like to buy ETH. Not now, but once Bitcoin pulled back. Is it a good short here with stop loss at the high? I wouldn't necessarily say that's a good a good short, because that's very far for the stop loss. It's not bad. Like it's not bad. It's the first time that I think you can actually short, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's good. If Bitcoin just keeps going higher, what levels would you look for confirmation that it's just going higher? Good question. I think if it closes above 60 on the weekly time frame, that would be like a good first sign. If it closes above 60 on the monthly, that'd be a good secondary sign. In this case, it's the other way around because the monthly closes in 1 day and the weekly in 4. What you then can do, like if both of those close significantly, like as in like at 62, I think you can just be bullish unless you get a close below those levels. So I think that's generally okay at this point. Especially if you get closes higher, that's a nice kind of invalidation. You might get completely shafted and the next monthly might be towards like 50. But then again, like after taking a rally from 16 to 60, pullback from like taking a pullback from 60 to 50, getting out and then maybe getting in lower, not the end of the deal. I think generally if we get rejected here, come down, that sets up a nice kind of run later. If we don't, if we break out here and then roll over, I think that would just generally be bad. Then I think you could actually see quite a bit lower prices. That's just structure I fucking hate. But I still think that would lead to higher prices eventually. So, and obviously if you just break out here like this, I think at that point you can just keep walking up. So worst case scenario, you close the monthly above and then you close the next one below. I think that'd be the worst. If it pulls back from here, that's really fucking good. Like that's the structure that you always want to be buying. Don, is it insane to bid 60k now? It seems a little bit crazy, yeah, but I honestly, I respect it. I respect it. It's basically what you can do if you're like, oh, this is just gonna keep running, and no one can predict the future, right? You're just looking for setups that can kind of guide you in your need of taking a position. And I mean, if you bid 60 and you have kind of like a stop loss if you close below 57, I mean, you're gonna give back quite a bit. You're gonna have quite a big loss. But given how it's been running so far, that would have paid off pretty much every single time. So maybe, I think it's a little bit aggressive. For me, it'd be too aggressive, but I'm not hating. I don't know why the stream's blinking. I actually saw some blinking too. I'm gonna have to, I think my internet's actually a little bit shit. Well, hope it kind of keeps working though. You think pullback to 45k is 4 times more likely than pullback to 56k? Is that right? No. Did I say that? YouTube issue, I think? Maybe. It's very weird. I usually don't have problems. It doesn't glitch if you're not live. Watch your 5-second delay. Yeah, but that's fucking annoying. People usually watch me on speed mode. Anyway, like we're all gonna, like everyone's gonna watch the 5-minute chart. Like, and this is the only times where I think it's actually valid. You know, like when it's kind of just teleporting everywhere, I think then you can just be a 5-minute enjoyer and do your thing. Anyway, so ETH still not performing as well as everyone would want it to. I think this is gonna be the trade in the next 3, 4, 5, 6 months. I just don't know if it's yet. Costanza says, I took profit at 61.1 from 44k. Chad, love to see it. I'm not saying that you're not going to be upset about it, but at least you had a good trade, and that's all. It's all I'm trying to teach anyone. Okay, cool. Any questions regarding Bitcoin and ETH? Or should I jump to the altcoins? Don, how did you get the 30k airdrop from Loom? I got a Wossi, but only got 0.2 ETH airdrop. I just have a bunch of Wossis. I just have a bunch of them, basically. And they were worth more when it launched. I don't think my airdrop is 30k anymore. They dumped basically by 50% in the last day or two. I think in general, and I mean, I know this is a bit annoying, whatever. I think in general, no matter where this goes, and I know this sounds completely and utterly ridiculous, right? But hear me out on this one, even if you think it sounds ridiculous and stupid, okay? If you just ignored Bitcoin, where it goes, right, and just looked for the first major pullback, like something that's 20-30% high, whether that be from 60k or 100k, and then jumped into altcoins, I think you're gonna outperform quite a bit. Like, I think there is gonna be basically completely outsized returns on the altcoin front. Like, you're gonna have much better time and much better multipliers on altcoins once you get that Bitcoin pullback. So something that is not the dumbest thing to do is basically being like, fuck it, I don't care where Bitcoin goes. I've had a nice run. Wait for it to go completely ballistic, and then it dumps a little bit, and you're just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna buy altcoins. And then you have like a couple, like 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks of good altcoin action, and that's gonna outperform Bitcoin by 15, 20x anyway. Don, I'm in ETH since 2.3k. Should I TP or keep it running? Because I don't think I can have a better entry again. If you don't think you could get a better entry and you think it's going to go higher, I mean, why ask me? The question kind of answers itself. Just fucking hold it. As long as you think it's going to go higher. You know, like, it's always, you have to kind of know where you think this shit goes. If you just ask me, Don, where do you think this goes? And then you just trade off of me, a guy that is currently on vacation. I'm just doing these streams because it's fun, and I technically have a contract. They don't really give a fuck, but I mean, I'm still like, I just feel obliged to you guys and to, like, just generally to do it. Otherwise I wouldn't. But yeah, you're kind of asking someone that is on vacation, technically speaking. So that's why I kind of always try to make sure you guys understand that you have to make your own choices. And the only thing that I can help with is kind of like a little bit of reasoning that you have to understand can be wrong, and that you also have to understand that you don't really have to agree with it. It's just basically giving my opinion, and then you can kind of consider whether my opinion is actually meaningful or not. So it's always good, I think, to have the opinions of people that have been around for a while. But yeah, how's your daughter? My daughter is great. Don't we want a trading daddy, not choices? Don't be silly. Fair enough. Are airdrops more profitable than investing into altcoins or Bitcoin? Okay, we talked about this in a couple of streams in the last few weeks. Depends on your portfolio size. If you're trading, like if you're doing this whole crypto thing with 4 figures, right? I mean, yeah, you can get a 2x from Bitcoin, but that's not gonna make you happy, and there is better opportunities out there, I think. If you're trading with 6 figures, okay? And then like with 4 figures, like anything from 0 to 4 or maybe even 5 figures, I think airdrops, NFTs, using the chain, like all that kind of shit just gives you better returns, right? So that's the large majority. And I mean, it's funny because the large majority of people watching are probably in that range. And I'm telling them to not do what this stream is about, which is a little bit dumb because I'm taking away, people are just like, I'm sending everyone elsewhere, right? Because this is not what the show is about, right? Like airdrop farming, whatever. I would never want to do a show about it because it's just not necessarily the nicest environment. And it's something that you have to also understand, like scams and everything on that front are very, very present in that sector, right? It's a disgusting sector where you're gonna have to do dumb shit to get money, but that's kind of where I think most people that are trading lower sizes should be spending their time. And then once you get higher, then you can start like being like, okay, I'm mainly trading altcoins, whatever. And then if you get into the 6, 7, whatever plus figures range, I think then you can start being like, okay, I'm mainly trading Bitcoin or ETH or whatever. I think starting from 7 figures, that makes sense. Because then, I mean, the airdrops, you get like, if it goes very well, you get like an airdrop of like 10K, 20K, 30K. And then if you're trading with like $1 million plus, doesn't really, like, you're like, whatever. So, yeah. Your voice undecipherable? Yeah, I'm sorry. Just gonna have to watch the recording because that's gonna be better, I think. But if not, I'll just repeat the stream another day. How the fuck do you sign up for airdrops? You don't sign up for airdrops, you do shit for airdrops. Basically, you use the chains, you use whatever the fuck exists in crypto. I bought Pepe when you mentioned it last time and I'm up a lot. Thanks, Don. No worries, man. Happy you got it. I had a bunch of people actually hate on that stream because I was like, Pepe, I can see that one run. And that one went from that stream like 150%. I was like, I think like stuff like Bonk and other meme coins are not going to do so well. They still went up. Right, so people are like, "Oh, you fucking moron," and I think I also shit talked with, and that actually made a new high. So like, my Pepe call is still better though. So, suck it, suckers. Pepe went up more, but yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't have to always be right. Any opinions on Blast? I don't know. The only thing I know about Blast, right, and this is very limited knowledge, is that I'm getting a shitload of offers with Blast teams, from Blast teams, trying to recruit me as some kind of promoter, whatever. Like I've never gotten any like that amount of offers. Like they're like, oh, we're gonna pay you. So what you will see is a lot of influencers on Twitter chilling a bunch of Blast shit. And that doesn't have to be because they're getting paid, but a lot of them will be paid. Which means I think Blast is going to do decently well. It's all about attention, and I think they're going to get it. I honestly think Pepe is going to go like Doge last cycle. Yeah, I think Pepe is one of the better meme coins to buy. I don't like a lot of the Pepe guys, and I don't like what they've done and what they did and all this shit, basically. But I think it's distributed long enough and basically exchanged hands that it can actually do very well. But it's already up like 200% now. But still, I find Pepe interesting for dip buy, for example. Like, I think Pepe is interesting. I think Pepe is going to outdo Doge. I think ETH is gonna outdo Solana, and then there's a few coins that I might pick up. Can you see Doge make a new all-time high against Bitcoin? No, but I could be surprised. But yeah, the blast thing, there's gonna be eyes on it. I can tell you that much. The teams are throwing around with money. Any idea about Lido? No. For our close, gonna be looking interesting, says a commenter. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's not the biggest, like not the best candle, but also doesn't have to mean much. Gonna be, I mean, generally interesting. Yeah, I think the weekly and the monthly close are more interesting. When wedding, I'm not gonna dox it, but in a while. But obviously already working on it and working on everything around it, all that shit. Like something that's been happening a lot in the last few days is people just kind of like mean on Twitter. Like they tweet at me and they're like, haha, you fucking moron. And I'm just like, dude, just leave me alone. I'm just living life. Like, I'm not bearish. I actually called this market pretty damn well, even while I was vacationing, right? I was like, I'm not sure where this is gonna go here. Went on vacation. It went up. It was trading here. I was like, this is actually really bullish. And then it just fucking flew. And I gave a few bullish setups on the way up. But yeah, I'm getting a lot of fucking shit on Twitter, which is quite interesting. It's not like I've been shorting or anything. I've just been chilling, just enjoying life. I mean, what is this money for if not for enjoying it? I don't get it. But yeah. I mean, you could look at Lido chart, please, and tell us your idea. But yeah, but I don't have any. Like, this is not a good chart. Like, what the fuck is this? If ETH does well, Lido will probably do well too. But like, what am I supposed to do with this? This is Lido BTC. It's not that bad. There's charts that look worse, but also there's charts that look much better. We should chip in for baby shower. Nah, it's all good. I don't want to take your guys' money. If I'm gonna take your money, I'm gonna take it in the order books. It's okay. I mean, there's a reason why our newsletter is free. Why all of like I don't need to charge money for this. You can use your money better than I can. Can you look at blur? I showed blur at the bottom, but was like, I'm gonna focus on fucking Bitcoin, and I think I missed out massively on that one. Yeah. Well, is there a better chart? Which one of these might have it for longer? Yeah, nah. I mean, this chart is not. This is a good chart. Don't get me wrong. It's not a chart where you want to be drawing lines and shit on. It's bullish. It went up. If you're bullish, blast. If you're bullish, blur. I mean, send it. I like blur as a thing. That's why I wanted to buy it. I wanted to buy the stuff that I'm using basically, just because I'm like, fuck it, that makes sense. That's why I wanted to have blur. That's why I want to have Uniswap and a few others. But I focused on Bitcoin, which turned out all right as well. Don, is it possible to get 10x on 7-fig portfolio now, since alt's still pending a crazy run? Yeah, I think it is, yes. Depending if you hit right or not. It's also possible to take a 50% haircut, but I think, yeah, 10x is in the realm of possibility. I think as long as, like with a 7-fig portfolio, I think it's possible. If you're trading 8 or 9, then unlikely. Just because at that size, it's more likely that you're gonna fuck up. 7's still possible. Why you don't like ETH here? If we're waiting for alt season, don't you think it's reasonable to get in at the bottom? Yeah, but is it the bottom? Is this the bottom? Because I think you could do this, and then I'd much rather buy here than up here. Obviously, ETH/USD, if you get an alt season, whatever, the bottom for this is in, right? Like, it's not going below 1,000. So you could argue like, hey, I've been sitting in this since 1K, I want to be holding. Or someone asked earlier, like, they bought at 2.3K and they were like, what should I do? I'm like, I don't necessarily think ETH has to go down there again, so you can just hold. But for someone that is not in, like, against Bitcoin, I think this chart doesn't necessarily look that great. It's not bad. I'm not hating on it as much as I used to. It's not a bad looking chart, but also, like, if this fails to support, I think you could get a little bit of a washout. And all you would need for that is basically Bitcoin to run towards like 70K, which doesn't seem too hard, or dump 10-15%, which also doesn't sound so hard. So I think there's a good chance that this just breaks support, and then, yeah. Uni is the first big altcoin mover after mean reversion begins. I actually like Uni as a play. I think it's not that dumb. Don't know if a coin is kind of newly listed. Is the opening price when listed of some kind of importance or not? A little bit, because people look at it. Everything that people, like, everyone looks at is basically somewhat important, but nothing too significant. But basically, like, look, if you, what can we, so, like, was this open price here where it was listed important? Like, technically, and I mean, this every exchange lists stuff at different prices, so, like, it's one reason why it's not as important. But, like, yes, somewhat, like, it actually worked somewhat as like an area of interest, right? So basically you bounced here a couple times and then you fell below it, and the moment you got back above it, this actually started looking quite good. So yes, somewhat, but also not really, because it's just a random price. But every time a bunch of people look at the same thing, it gains some form of importance, yes. Condom chats, we stay winning, yeah. No, I mean, we're already planning the second one, so yeah, my life is busy. So I'm gonna be busy spending the money I made in the last couple of years. What if ETH BTC is making a higher low here? Possible, but then, and this is very possible, but then, like, just fucking get above here so we can send it. I think at that point, like, above 0.06 just looks good. And there's a reason why I picked this. Look, this is where we got rejected here. I've been maintaining that you need to close above 0.06, as in, like, this resistance here, for ETH to actually start significantly outperforming. And we've just been getting rejected by that same area. Now, we tested the support a bunch of times, right? Like, this area, it's like 1 test, 2 tests, 3 tests. This might be the 4th. But we also tested this a bunch of times. Like, this was 2 tests, right? So if it comes back up, probably gonna break. But if it keeps pushing lower, if this breaks, I think that could not be good for ETH. A bunch of people are, like, asking for altcoins. I'm not gonna go over some tickers, especially if I don't know them, just because there's no time. And I think generally my comments, right? Like, there's a few altcoins. There's something that you can just do yourself, right? You look at the prices right now. You look at how everything's performed. AVAX down 8%, Doge up 7%, right? So that should definitely be just a signal for you that you want to be putting Dogecoin into your watch list, right? Because it's been outperforming today of all days where Bitcoin went crazy, right? You look at Bitcoin, you're like, okay, Bitcoin dumped massively or pumped massively. What is actually doing well? Like, relative, right? Like let's say Bitcoin dumped 20% and altcoin is down 10% while every other altcoin is down 30. There's a reason for that more often than not, right? And the same, Bitcoin goes up 20% and relatively speaking, an altcoin outperforms, right? Like Dogecoin is up 7%. There's a reason for it. And this is basically a bunch of people are looking at Dogecoin as the meme coin play again for this cycle. So they're starting to rotate into Dogecoin because Bitcoin is so close to all-time high that they're like, I mean, at this point, we're going to get an old season. And if we get an old season, Dogecoin is going to be a good bet, right? That's the whole narrative people are following. And I don't think it's a bad one, right? I don't think Dogecoin BTC will ever go back to where it was. But Dogecoin BTC has a lot of room to run to get somewhat close. And maybe it does outdo its previous cycle. Possible, right? Like I cannot predict the future. I don't think it will. But that's basically like, so Dogecoin is interesting. Now you look at like, I mean, generally the meme sector right now is a little bit doing well. But also then you look at like coins that are not doing so well in a different sector as the meme coin sector, right? Because you don't want to just look at the memes. And you're like, okay, what's something that's been performing somewhat okay during this? Solana is one of them. Solana is only down for 4%, while a lot of other things are down 8%, right, against Bitcoin. Most of the things are down 8%. Solana has been holding somewhat more steady. That one just kind of looks shit on the higher time frame chart, but generally should also be in your list then. And then you look at a bunch of other things. You do this. If your altcoin isn't doing anything special, if your altcoin is in the 8-9% losers category, right, like XRP, like Litecoin, like everything else, if it has a narrative that you know about that you think other people don't, then maybe that's a decent bet. But if not, if you don't know anything, if you're just like, oh, I like this coin because I like the logo, I think that's better passed up on, right? So you kind of look at what is acting different from how it should be and what could be the reason for it. Obviously, right now, for example, the meme coins are doing well. And that's just generally a sign that people are expecting old season, right? So that's one of the reasons. But generally, could obviously also happen, right? Like you can get an old season. I think it's not too unlikely that we will get one. So that's like not the worst sector to look at. But also just go for it and see what's performing well and why, and think about it a little bit, not just, oh, like for example, like with the meme coin thing, you're like, oh yeah, the meme coins are up, or like Pepe is up, so that has to go up. It's also like, obviously if Dogecoin is up a bunch, Pepe will be up a bunch just because it's in the same sector. I don't know if that helps at all. Like this is just like the basic thoughts. Like there's not even like going into depth on the altcoins. It's just like how I start out with. Like I look through this list, I look through CoinMarketCap, whatever, and I'm like, how should this be performing? How is it performing and why? Right? Like you can even go this by sector. You look at the meme coins. You look, okay, what is up today? Pepe, Dogecoin, they're up like 13 and 15% or whatever, I don't know. They're 13% here and Dogecoin is up 15, yeah. And then you go add like whatever your favorite meme coin with that's also up 15, but maybe then there's a shitty one, like let's say, I don't know how Bonk is doing. Yeah, and then you look at Bonk and that is not, right? Bonk's just been, and it's been underperforming generally. So Bonk is probably not one of the ones that you want to be looking at. There's other ones. Like if you want to be trading on Solana, maybe with is decent. Not necessarily, but maybe. Like that's kind of how you can look at it, right? Like also sector to sector. And then you also have to not only look at that day, but also like if something is up 80% on the previous day and then today it's down even though everything else is up, maybe this was just an early mover here, right? Like it was up 80% and then you're just looking at the last day, so you're like, oh, this is down, but actually it's been up a shitload much earlier than the others and more than the others. So you kind of have to also like zoom out a little bit, do it with a little bit more checking, whatever. I don't know if I make any sense, but that's kind of how I think about it. And then once I've found something that is just moving funnily or like interesting, I can start considering trading it. What's your like opinion on this whole AI narrative? I'm so bullish, but I would like to hear a more conservative opinion. No, I think the AI thing is just a good play. It's dumb, and I think people will realize that these whole AI coins is completely fucking useless. But it's a good narrative. I think it's like a meme coin narrative. You can play it. I don't think it's dumb. Aren't meme coins mooning a sign of local top? I mean, yeah, somewhat. But also can mean that good times are coming on the altcoin front. But yeah, generally for Bitcoin, it's not a good sign. You don't want to see the meme coins go. If Litecoin goes, we're fucked, my friends. If you see Litecoin move up, abandon everything. Just fucking run. Just fucking run. Like, you see this go, maybe you trade it for a week or two, but then you just fucking run. But yeah, obviously, like when people choose meme coins and go like in complete mania, because that's kind of how it is, right? Like people trying to position for great gains from retail. That is obviously not necessarily the best for Bitcoin. Did you get any chiplings? Yes, I did. I got like, I don't know. Like across all my wallets, like 20 to 30, I think. I mean, this is exactly what a good narrative is. So useless, but so much hype, isn't it? The AI stuff, yeah. Like, but you gotta be quick, right? Like, because at some point people will realize that it's useless. But yeah. Don, where did you learn such great English? I don't know. My English is not that good. Good enough to converse with people. But if you compare it to someone like Cred, it's pitiful. So, okay. I think I'm gonna call it. But because everyone that's kind of been sad about the altcoin part being short, even though today was a little bit longer, I have good news for you guys, because Cred and I have been skipping some episodes last week. We're gonna catch up on them tomorrow. We're gonna do an altcoin stream or video. I cannot promise it's gonna be a stream. Might just be a video. So that's gonna be cool. And then we still will do Casual Friday. So you have content for the rest of the week every day. And then we'll just see. We'll see how it looks tomorrow. Today and right now, we're dumping a little, but not too bad. So we'll see. We'll see how that looks like tomorrow, and how the altcoins look, and the whole, like maybe Cred can translate my altcoin ramblings of today, add his own ramblings. I don't know. Maybe it makes more sense. Usually it does. My stuff sounds stupid. He rephrases it and suddenly I look like a genius. So maybe that will happen tomorrow too. Anyway, much love. Thanks for coming by. Hope you had a great week. I mean, with prices like this, 60 fucking K, insane. I better hope you do, or you had. And yeah, we'll talk soon. Much love. Bye bye.